In graduate school, I set out on a mission to better understand anger. Specifically, I wanted to understand why some people got really angry about a situation and other people just didn't seem to be concerned about it. It was no big deal. Do you want to know what I discovered? I bet you do. Well, grab a soda and pull up a chair and let's get started. Welcome. I am Dr. Tracy Dickens, a psychologist. And if you are new here, welcome to the channel. I'm so glad you found me. And if you have been here before, welcome back. I'm so glad to see you again. I bet you are ready for the answer. Well, not so fast. First, I want you to understand there is an anger cycle. And at any point in that anger cycle, we can intervene and make a change. The first part of the anger cycle is that we sense our world. We experience our world through our five senses. Our mind and our brain interpret that information, and that interpretation leads to an emotion. Our mind uses our history and the current sensory experience and emotional experience to create this story. Here's a real world example. Let's say you're walking along in your house and you step on something and ouch! The immediate sensory information is that hurt. And you grab your foot. More than likely, you're going to experience anger in with some other emotions that are going along when you're hopping along trying to help your foot. And why anger? Because anger is a fight or flight emotion. So here is where things can go calming down or escalating. If I think, ow, man, that was a fluke, that never happens. I'm usually so good about catching those things. Probably more than likely, I'm gonna keep rubbing my foot and I'm gonna feel better. On the flip side, if I think, man, I'm always running into things. It's like I can't think, I can't see. Gosh, I'm so stupid. Or if I think, my roommate keeps leaving stuff on the floor. It makes me so mad. And if you're thinking, yeah, this isn't me. How about these examples? Have you ever been in traffic and someone's cut you off? For some of us, we'll think that person's trying to cause an accident. Or if you're in the grocery store and someone has left their cart in the middle of the aisle while they've gone down in search of an item that they need. Maybe for some of us, we think, this person's so rude. They must think they're the only person in the store. Maybe you're starting to see a theme in what tends to fuel our anger. If you've missed it, I'm going to point it out to you specifically, and it happens to be the thing that I found in my research, and so have other anger researchers discovered, that when we believe someone's actions are intentional, we get more angry. Rarely are the events in our lives caused by intentionality, or are they as dire as our mind interprets them to be. But when we view our situations and our experiences with that lens, we keep ourselves in pain and suffering longer. In his book, How to Stop Pain, Dr. James Richard said, "Finding fault is not the work of the Holy Spirit. It is not a spiritual gift. It is neither inspired by God nor led by God. Finding fault is the product of fear, low self-worth, and anger. It is a vain attempt to end pain by controlling and forcing others to change." Ouch. So how do we stop that? How do we stop adding to our pain and suffering? Well, I'm gonna tell you how. First, if you're liking this video, push the thumbs up so YouTube knows to send it out and more people can see it. And now here's the real first thing you can do. This is taking a pro tip from Jesus in Matthew 7, verses 3 through 5. And I'm paraphrasing here. Essentially, the message is, instead of paying attention to the speck in your neighbor's eye, look at the plank in your own. So, what does that mean? It means, Are you guilty of some of the things that you're getting angry about? And before you say no, let me be transparent. I remember my commute to work, and oftentimes in the morning at 8 o'clock, if you're a commuter or once upon a time were a commuter, you know that morning traffic can be crazy. And there's always somebody who's driving a little bit bonkers, and I would get to work and I would be so angry. And I realized one day, this isn't good for me and it's not good for my first client. I asked God, hey, help me out with this. Help me get perspective. And you know what he did? Whenever somebody would cut me off, he brought to my memory times that I have swerved in my lane because something on my passenger seat shifted and was about to fall onto the floor, and I instinctively reached for it to prevent that from happening, and my car swerved. He brought to my mind the time that I was speeding through traffic to get to a friend who was pregnant and had just been in a car accident. So he reminded me of times when I had been guilty of the very thing that I was getting upset about, and to check my motives behind those times. And I would give myself grace. I would justify my reasons. And so it's learning how to understand that, one, maybe that person who's doing that thing to you that you don't like, maybe they have the same thing going on with them that you've had. They're just being human. They're doing the best that they can do. They're misinterpreting the situation. They're rushing to a friend who is in danger. They've had a bad day. And I'm not saying any of that justifies bad behavior. What I am saying, if you want to not get so angry, it's understanding that you have been guilty of a lot of the things that we get angry about. And maybe not in the same intensity or in the same way, but we've all disappointed people. We've all made promises that we don't follow through on. We've all sped or shifted lanes when we didn't check. At some point in time, I've been the person who's left the cart in the middle of the aisle. We have done so many things and we have received grace for it. And if we receive grace for it, we should extend that grace to other people. We should give them the benefit of the doubt. We should think the best of people instead of the worst of people, and not just assume that when something happens, they are intentionally trying to harm us. The next thing you can do is pray. I used to get really upset about car accidents. I know I feel like I'm such a bad person for admitting that, but it's true. I used to get so upset about car accidents because it would get me to work late. And then God really convicted my heart, and he was like, you've been in car accidents. You know how that messes up your day and your finances and your health. And so instead of getting angry, why not pray for them? Oh yeah, that really pricked my heart. And so that's oftentimes what I do when I see somebody speeding in traffic or blocking the aisle or doing these things that initially I may have the thought of, oh, that person. And then I think, you know what? I don't know what's going on with them today. And I pray that they have a different experience of the day and that they don't cause harm and that they come across somebody that can speak joy and life into their day and help them get out of their own pain and suffering. I know, it's a bold move, right? And it's kind of what we're called to do as Christians, but we often don't do it. Okay, so the next thing you can do is identify your cognitive distortions, because we all have them. So don't act like you don't, because you do. We all have them. And I mentioned that intentionality is the number one thought distortion that fuels anger, but there are others. There's like magnifying and catastrophizing. This is the worst day ever. This is so awful. I'm never gonna recover from this. Sound familiar? There's overgeneralizing. You always, you never, this is forever. There's demanding and commanding. They should just know. You should. Oh, and then there's one that's extremely popular in our society these days. That person's stupid, or that person's an Those cognitive distortions fuel our anger. They swell it, they build it, and they keep us trapped in our pain and suffering longer. Next, identify your feelings. Yes, identify what you're actually feeling underneath that anger. Because I've said in other videos that anger always travels with a number of other emotions. So get still, take some deep breaths, take a moment to actually take in the reality of what's happening and identify the other feelings occurring with your anger and what needs need to be addressed. For example, if you don't feel safe, what's something that you can do that will help you feel safe? And when I'm talking about something to do, I'm talking about healthy options. I'm not talking about avoiding drinking, using a substance. I'm talking about things like going for a walk. I'm talking about talking to a friend. I'm talking about journaling your thoughts and feelings so you can get them out of your head and you can better understand so you can navigate how to process them and experience them and do something about them. And now that leads to the next thing. Learning how to communicate, learning how to process and communicate our anger is really challenging for most people. And here's ways that you can do it. You can use the simple I feel and I need statement. For example, let's say that your partner or your roommate has failed to take out the trash again. Some of you may be thinking, this is no big deal. I can take the trash out. Or maybe you're thinking, my partner loves me so much. They want to make sure I get all my steps in for the day. So they've left the trash for me to take out again. But I suspect majority of you are thinking something way less kind. And so for those people, here's the suggestion. When your partner comes in or your roommate comes in, you can say, I feel, and it can be, I feel hurt, confused, frustrated, whatever the feeling is, fill that in. And I need for the trash to be taken out because, and give them some reason. You don't have to wax eloquent. You don't have to give them a full dissertation, but give them some sense of your perspective so they understand your value or your need behind it. And so they're more likely to do it. And I always like to offer the possibility to hear the other person's perspective of what got in the way. Maybe they forgot, maybe trash isn't their thing. Maybe they grew up having to take the trash out and it was like a big argument with their family. And so taking out the trash is kind of this fight or flight trauma kind of thing. But opening up a dialogue and not just automatically assuming that the person is just not taking out the trash because they think that you suck. Let me know down below which of these things have you used and which of these tips was most helpful to you. And push the thumbs up down there. Go on, push it. Share with your friends and family and subscribe so you can come back. And as always, I want you to choose joy and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.